Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I am your host, Joey Harris, and we are broadcasting from makeshift studios in the shadow of South Central Virginia. You can follow the show on Twitter at Cup of Joe Pod. You can email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. You can support the show at paypal.me/cupofjoepod. Folks, back, and it has been quite a week, has it not? First of all, let me just get it out of the way. Everything that happened last week, with Vince McMahon and all the elephants in the room, including Brock Lesnar and Johnny Ace and all of that. If you've been following wrestling on social media, you know all that happens. It was a horrific thing, if true. I will say now that it's just allegations, but there's a lot of stuff there, folks. And so I have decided to follow the rule that I set in place for myself in regard to Chris Benoit and Jimmy Snuka, the horrible things that they did, because in the future, as well as now, Vince McMahon, Brock Lesnar, and Johnny Ace are going to come up. And when they do, I will cover what was said and done and not go into elaborate details with that, because you can't ignore or whitewash history, but will not celebrate anything that they do. Just report what happened. Also last week, a huge news that the WWE Raw was going to Netflix, a 10-year deal valued at $5 billion. And then also The Rock joining the board of TKO, as well as gaining control of The Rock nickname. So that is also just a lot of news that came out from the WWE in 4 days? It was just crazy. As well as, I want to send out my condolences. Rest in peace to Ice Train. If you remember him from WCW in the 90s, my thoughts and my prayers and my condolences go out to his friends and fans and family. Today, we look at WrestleMania IX from the WWF. WrestleMania IX was shown on pay-per-view April the 4th, 1993 from Caesars Palace in the Las Vegas suburb of Paradise, Nevada. There were 16,891 in attendance. In a dark match, Tito Santana defeated Papa Shango. We then get our intro. Gorilla Monsoon welcomes us to WrestleMania and throws it to newcomer to the WWF, Jim Ross. JR has arrived. He welcomes us to WrestleMania and runs down some of what we're going to see. Howard Finkel brings out Caesar and Cleopatra. Macho Man Randy Savage comes out with the Vestal Virgins. Bobby Heenan comes out riding backwards on a camel. He takes a pratfall and when he gets off the camel. Last WrestleMania appearance of their original runs for Heenan and Mean Gene Okerlund. WWF Intercontinental Championship match. Shawn Michaels with Luna Vachon versus Tatanka with Sensational Sherry. First appearance of Luna, who would soon be paired with Bam Bam Bigelow. Tatanka comes out fired up. Sherry comes out determined and laser focused on Michaels. It takes a while to get started. The crowd is behind Tatanka. Michaels with a flurry of offense, but Tatanka quickly comes back. Michaels with a wrist lock. Tatanka fights back. Michaels with a side headlock. Tatanka goes to push off, but Michaels holds on. Tatanka with a belly-to-back suplex to get out of the move. He tries to get Michaels, but Michaels keeps avoiding him. Tatanka with a drop kick and a corner whip that knocks Michaels to the apron where Tatanka chops him to the floor. Vachon comes over only to get stopped by Sherry. Tatanka chomps Michaels to keep him out of the ring. Michaels runs Tatanka into a turnbuckle and hits a sunset flip to get a 2 count. Back and forth, and Tatanka hits Michaels with an inverted atomic drop. Tatanka with an arm drag and an arm bar. Michaels tries to go for the hair, but Sherry calls him out. Michaels goes for a clothesline, but hurts his own shoulder. Tatanka goes back to the armbar. Michaels comes back and hits Tatanka in the corner. Tatanka pulls Michaels into the post and goes back to the armbar. Michaels trying to come back. Tatanka with a shoulder breaker. Tatanka with a chop from the top rope. Michaels hits the crescent kick and both men are down. Tatanka thrown over the top rope, and JR is fighting himself not to say that that's a disqualification. Sherry goes after Luna again. Michaels runs Tatanka into an apron. Back and forth. They get back in the ring, and Michaels with a swinging net breaker. He hits a standing dropkick to Tatanka for another 2 count. Michaels with a chin lock. Tatanka coming back. Michaels jabbing Tatanka in the corner. Michaels with a modified victory roll for a 2 count. Tatanka with a fallaway slam. He gets a 2 count. Michaels with a double axe handle. Tatanka coming back. Tatanka with chops. Another Irish whip and a chop. A crossbody gets a 2 count for Tatanka. Tatanka catapults Michaels into the corner for another 2 count. Michaels with a quick roll-up for a 2 count. Michaels goes up top and comes off, but gets caught and power slam for a 2 count. Michaels throws Tatanka out. Michaels goes for a dive off the apron, but Tatanka moves. Michaels grabs the referee and throws him out. Tatanka hits a fallaway slam and covers Michaels, but Michaels has been disqualified. Michaels is out in the middle of the ring. Vachon attacks Sherry on the outside. Tatanka runs Vachon off and checks on Sherry. Mean Gene talks to the Steiner brothers. They say they are ready for the Head Shrinkers. The Head Shrinkers, Samu and Fatu with Alpha versus the Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott. Scott and Fatu start. Scott with an arm drag. He then gets a double leg takedown and gets a 1 count. Back and forth with big right hands. Fatu with a thumb to the eyes, and the Head Shrinkers double team Scott in the corner. Scott thrown to the outside. Steiners hit the Head Shrinkers with a double Steiner line from the top rope. Head Shrinkers roll out to regroup with Alpha. JR announces that Sensational Sherry has been attacked at the first aid station. Rick tagged in. Samu also tagged in and chops Rick. Samu with a corner whip and a clothesline. Another corner whip, but Rick comes out with a Steiner line. He runs Samu into the post and Scott tagged in. He cleans house. Samu reverses an Irish whip and looks like he's going to hit a hot shot, but Fatu holds the ring rope down and Scott spills to the outside. Alpha hits Scott with a stick on the outside. They attack Scott on the outside. They get Scott back in the ring and Fatu tagged in. Fatu with a second rope headbutt, but Rick breaks up the pin. Samu tagged in. Samu with a corner whip, but Scott gets the boot up on the charge. Fatu tagged in. Fatu with a running charge to knock Scott out of the ring. Samu runs Scott into the ring post. Fatu throws Scott back in and gets an Irish whip. He lowers his head and Scott slams him down to the mat. This doesn't affect Fatu and he hits Scott with a thrust kick. Samu tagged in. Head Shrinkers double team Scott in the corner. Fatu tagged in and they did their version of the demolition decapitation. Fatu gets a 2 count. Scott trying to come back. Double collision and both men down. Samu tagged in. He pounds on Scott. He goes for a diving headbutt, but Scott moves. Fatu and Rick both tagged in. Rick cleaning house. The Head Shrinkers headbutt Rick. They then hit a skull-crushing finale on Rick. They get Rick up for their version of the Doomsday device, but Rick catches Samu in midair and slams him down. Fatu breaks up the count. Head Shrinkers throw Rick out of the ring, but he tags Scott as Rick was going through the ropes. Scott hits Fatu with a belly-to-belly suplex, only to get hit with a thrust kick from Samu. Samu reverses an Irish whip, but Scott comes back with the Frankensteiner to get the pin. Mean Gene talks to Doink. They show Doink attacking Crush from behind. Doink says after tonight, Crush may be seeing double vision. Crush versus Doink. Doink squirts Crush as soon as Doink gets in the ring. Crush takes off after Doink. Crush slams Doink on the outside. Doink trying to get away. He begs off in the corner. He goes outside and then pulls Crush out. Crush headbutts Doink. Crush with a neck breaker. All Crush thus far. Crush does the Randy Savage jump over guillotine move to Doink. Crush with a backbreaker. Doink guillotines Crush and hits a forearm from the top rope. Doink gets Crush down. He hits a pile driver to Crush. Doink with a scoop slam. He goes to come off the top rope, but Crush gets his foot up. Both men down, back and forth. Doink tries to come off the second rope, but gets caught and slammed off. Crush clotheslines Doink outside and grabs Doink as he was trying to go under the ring. Back in, Crush slams Doink down and signals for the cranium crush. He gets it on, but Doink gets to the ropes. Crush lets go and Doink slams into referee Joey Morella. Crush checks on Morella and then stops Doink from going under the ring. Crush slams Doink and gets the Crush on until another Doink comes from under the ring and attacks Crush. They double team Crush to knock him out. The second Doink goes back under the ring and Doink pins Crush. Another official comes down and tells Morella what happened, but they can't find the second Doink. Todd Pettengill is in the crowd talking about if there were 2 Doinks. Bob Backlund versus Razor Ramon. The bell rings. Backlund wants to shake hands, but Ramon throws his toothpick at Backlund instead. A razor chant goes out. Ramon throws Backlund back to a corner a couple of times. Backlund gets some single leg pickups on Ramon. Ramon comes back with a scoop slam. Then another one. He kicks Backlund. Ramon gets Backlund in the corner, and Backlund tries to fight out. Backlund reverses a corner whip and hits a hip toss. Then another one. Backlund with a double underhook suplex. He follows it up with an atomic drop. Ramon gets an inside cradle to get the pin out of nowhere. Mean Gene talks to Money Inc. They flash back to everything that has led up to the match. Ted DiBiase says it's time to put up or shut up. IRS says they're going to take Brutus Beefcake's mask off and rearrange his face. They also bring up Hulk Hogan being injured. WWF World Tag Team Championship match. Money Incorporated, Ted DiBiase and IRS versus the Mega Maniacs, Hulk Hogan and Brutus Beefcake with Jimmy Hart. Money Inc. out first. Lots of speculation over Hulk Hogan's black eye. Speculation says Randy Savage did it, or it was an accident with a jet ski, who knows. A good reaction for Hogan, but not a great one. Money Inc. attacks the Mega Maniacs as soon as they get to the ring. Mega Maniacs run Money Inc. out of the ring. IRS and Beefcake start. IRS beating Beefcake down in the corner. DiBiase tagged in and keeps up the attack. DiBiase with an Irish whip and a back elbow. IRS back in. He and DiBiase doing some quick tags and keeping Beefcake in their corner. DiBiase goes for an elbow smash from the second rope, but hurts his hand on Beefcake's mask. Beefcake runs Money Inc.'s heads together. Beefcake runs DiBiase into the corner, and then into Hogan's boot. Hogan tagged in. Hogan with punches to DiBiase in the corner. He gets DiBiase down and punches him again. All Hogan so far. Double boot from the Mega Maniacs and Beefcake tagged in. Beefcake with a scoop slam and Hogan tagged back in. Hogan with a double axe handle. DiBiase has his bumping shoes on. Both Money Inc. members thrown out of the ring. Money Inc. started to leave. Howard Finkel tells the crowd that the referee has ruled that Money Inc. has to come back by the 10 count or they will lose their titles. They make it in on 8. Hogan and DiBiase in it and a Hogan chant goes out. DiBiase gets Hogan down and chokes him on the second rope. Beefcake complains and IRS chokes Hogan with the tag rope. Money Inc. has Hogan in their corner and double teaming him. They get him down. DiBiase puts the $1 Million Dream on Hogan. Hogan fighting it. The Hogan chant goes out again. Hogan's hand doesn't fall the third time. All 4 men in and the referee tries to get IRS out and Beefcake puts the sleeper on DiBiase. Both Hogan and DiBiase down. Hogan up at 8 like The Undertaker. Beefcake tagged in and cleans house. He atomic drops DiBiase to the outside. Beefcake goes for a move and DiBiase hits him with the Halliburton briefcase when the referee wasn't looking. DiBiase then tagged in. He drops several knees on Beefcake. He tries to take the mask off Beefcake. He gets the mask off. Hogan comes in but gets cut off by the referee. IRS tagged in and Beefcake out on his feet and swinging wildly. DiBiase tagged back in. Money Incorporated with a double clothesline. Beefcake puts IRS in a sleeper. DiBiase with a double axe handle to Beefcake from behind, but that pushes Beefcake and IRS into the referee. DiBiase and Hogan both tagged in. Hogan with some right hands to DiBiase. Big boot. IRS comes in with Beefcake's mask. Hogan kicks him, gets the mask, and hits both members of Money Inc. with the mask. Hart comes in, turns his jacket inside out. The inside is striped black and white like a referee and makes the count. That's a hokey ending. You'll find that to be a trend on this show. Money Inc. wins by disqualification. Money Inc. go to hit the Mega Maniacs from behind, but get run off. Referee Danny Davis had come down to make the call, and his former manager Jimmy Hart throws him out. Hogan and Beefcake pose after the match. They get the Halliburton and open it. There's paper, a brick, and money in there. The Mega Maniacs give the money away. Todd Pettengill talks to Natalie Cole in the crowd. She's having a good time. He then talks to the CEO of Caesar's Palace. He is so happy that WrestleMania is here. Mean Gene talks to Mr. Perfect. Perfect talks about Lex Luger. Luger had knocked out Bret Hart at the WrestleMania brunch. Perfect says he is what he says he is. Absolutely perfect, and he is on a roll this week. Lex Luger versus Mr. Perfect. Perfect gets a great reaction when he comes out. He spits his gum on Luger. They lock up and exchange wrist locks. They get to the ropes and break. They exchange hammer locks. Another break. Perfect reverses an Irish whip and hits a shot and a running knee lift. He hits a drop kick on Luger. They lock up again and drive to a corner. They break, and Luger gets a cheap shot in. Luger with a series of right hands and an Irish whip. He goes to hit Perfect with a big boot, but Perfect catches the boot. Perfect slaps Luger down and attacks Luger's knee. Perfect working on Luger's leg. He gets the leg lock on. He then kicks Luger's knee and chops Luger in the corner. Luger reverses a corner whip, then another corner whip, and Perfect has his bumping shoes on. Luger throws Perfect out of the ring. Luger follows and runs Perfect's back into the apron. Back in, Luger continues to work on the lower back. He hits Perfect with a backbreaker. He throws Perfect into a corner and Perfect trying to fight out. Back and forth. Luger with an Irish whip, but drops his head and Perfect gets a sunset flip for a 2 count. Perfect with a sleeper. Luger gets to the ropes. They trade blows. Perfect with an inside cradle for a 2 count. Perfect reverses a corner whip and catapults Luger into the corner. Perfect with an Irish whip and a forearm for a 2 count. Perfect with corner mounted punches. He gets another 2 count. Perfect with a missile dropkick for another 2 count. Luger gets a backslide to get the pin, but Perfect's legs were on the ropes. Luger knocks Perfect out with the forearm after the match. Perfect comes to and takes off after Luger. He attacks Luger, who was talking to Shawn Michaels, and Michaels attacks Perfect. Savage and Heenan start to argue about what just happened. The Undertaker with Paul Bearer versus Giant Gonzalez with Harvey Whippleman. Undertaker gets a tremendous reaction when he comes out. He's being pulled out on a chariot with a vulture. The bell rings and they are face to face or as close as possible with Gonzalez's height. He hits some forearms to no avail. Undertaker with some throat thrusts. Gonzalez grabs Undertaker by the neck. Undertaker gets on the second rope and grabs Gonzalez by the throat. Back and forth. Undertaker does old school. Gonzalez with a clothesline. Gonzalez hip tosses Undertaker out of the corner. Gonzalez with a headlock. Undertaker down to one knee. He gets back up, but goes down again. The referee checks the arm and it doesn't go down a third time. Undertaker gets out and Gonzalez throws him out of the ring. Gonzalez follows and throws Undertaker into the ring steps. Undertaker gets back in the ring. Gonzalez keeps knocking Undertaker down and he keeps getting back to his feet. Undertaker coming back. Gonzalez was knocked down to one knee. Whippleman gets up on the apron and Undertaker grabs him and he throws something to Gonzalez. Gonzalez headbutts Bear off the apron and puts the cloth over Undertaker's face. The announcers say it smells like chloroform. Gonzalez is disqualified. Undertaker goes down to the mat and the crowd boos. Officials come out to check on the Undertaker. Gonzalez grabs referee Bill Alfonso and chokeslams him. Undertaker loaded onto a stretcher and taken to the back. A Hogan chant goes out. The gong goes off and the Undertaker comes back to a massive ovation. He gets in the ring and rocks Gonzalez with a series of clotheslines to take Gonzalez down. Bearer has to restrain the Undertaker to keep him away from Gonzalez. Mean Gene flashes back to Yokozuna taking down Jim Duggan and the contract signing between Yokozuna and Bret Hart. He then brings on Hulk Hogan. He talks about Money Incorporated attacking him and tells Bret Hart to watch out for Yokozuna and Mr. Fuji. He then challenges the winner to the first title match. Todd Pettengill is in the crowd and interviewing fans. WWF Championship match. Bret Hart versus Yokozuna with Mr. Fuji. Hart gets a great reaction when he comes out. Hart does his glasses presentation. Yokozuna does his salt presentation. The bell rings and Hart attacks Yokozuna in the corner. They trade shots. Yoko knocks Hart to the outside. Yokozuna comes over to the apron and Hart was trying to get back in and Hart uses the ropes to tie Yoko's feet up and knock him down. Hart attacks the prone Yokozuna. The referee gets Yokozuna out. Yokozuna comes back with a clothesline. Yokozuna with a scoop slam and a leg drop on Hart. Crowd starts a USA chant and that's hilarious. Yokozuna choking Hart on the top rope. They lock up. Yokozuna with a nerve hold. Yokozuna with a corner whip, but Hart gets his feet up on the charge and bulldogs Yokozuna down from the second turnbuckle. Hart gets a 2 count. Yokozuna with a thrust kick. Yokozuna goes back to a nerve hold. Yokozuna with a corner whip, but Hart moves on the charge and gets another bulldog for a 2 count. Hart goes for the 5 moves of doom. He gets a series of 2 counts. Yokozuna grabs Hart in the corner, and Hart holds on to the turnbuckle pad to keep from going down. The pad comes off and Hart does go down. Hart runs Yokozuna into the exposed turnbuckle. Hart puts the sharpshooter on. Fuji throws powder into Hart's eyes, and Yokozuna pins Hart to become the new WWF Champion. But wait, there's more. Hulk Hogan comes out to complain. Fuji gets on the mic and challenges Hogan to take on Yoko and says Yoko will put the title on the line. Hart tells Hogan to go for it. Fuji goes to throw something again, but Hogan ducks and Yokozuna gets hit instead. Hogan knocks Fuji down, clothesline, leg drop, and pin, and Hulk Hogan is the new WWF Champion. What just happened? Hogan must pose. They recap what just happened and sign off from Las Vegas. Final thoughts. This is far from what we talked about with the start of Hulkamania last week. Worth at least one look, but most of it is skippable. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TheJoeyHarris. If you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or your preferred podcast app. I would really appreciate it. Thank you for joining me this week. This is Joey saying so long from the heart of Virginia.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.